Good afternoon. Thank you for coming by. I'm Attorney General Eric Schneiderman, and we are here today to discuss something called Operation Snowfall. I want to talk about the dismantling of this major international drug ring. The perpetrators in this case are charged with trafficking huge amounts of cocaine between Washington Heights and Wappingers Falls in Dutchess County. This morning, our investigators conducted raids in both Washington Heights and Wappingers Falls. They found at least 2.5 kilos of cocaine, much of it hidden behind a trap door in the kitchen of an apartment in Washington Heights. And we recovered cash and cocaine, and some of it is shown here on this picture. 8 people have been charged with 140 counts of trafficking and possession of cocaine. In addition, the brother of one of the accused was also arrested on different drug-related charges. Investigators from our organized crime task force, the New York State Police, and Homeland Security investigators broke up this high-volume drug pipeline, uncovering an operation that was really like a 24-hour cocaine-to-go shop. They had a designated pickup location, storage space for inventory, and round-the-clock delivery personnel. As alleged in our indictment, the husband and wife team of Robert Garcia and Aldehisa Hernandez ran the drug ring out of their apartment at 111 Wadsworth Avenue, very close to the George Washington Bridge. Wiretaps and leads from informants revealed that when orders for drugs came in, and they were getting more than 100 calls a day. This was a high-volume, quick-delivery cocaine operation. They were getting more than 100 calls a day. The ringleaders would call over to a nearby building at 1365 St. Nicholas Avenue, where they had several apartments. One apartment served as the storage place for the cocaine. They would move it down to another apartment where the cocaine was weighed and packed. And from there, the drugs were delivered. They had runners who would deliver drugs to the customers in the neighborhood, and as we learned, to supply a very large customer base in Wappingers Falls. The drug ring in Wappingers Falls had co-conspirators. One was a guy named Michael Novick, member of a prominent family there. His sister sits on the village board of trustees. His brother is a police officer. Mr. Novick and his colleagues would send for drugs several times a week, and runners would come up and bring them cocaine. Once the drugs got to Dutchess County, they were sold directly to users, but also distributed through a supply network. One base of operations was a local restaurant, which was called Chubby's Deli. Our investigation also uncovered evidence that the drug ring was sending profits back to the Dominican Republic, where it was laundered. An associate of Robert Garcia's named Denny Martinez was arrested at Kennedy Airport as he was trying to leave for the Dominican Republic with $30,000 in cash. Our office is committed to an all-levers approach to drug use. We're committed to cracking down on the criminal gangs and drug rings that are pushing increasingly dangerous drugs on our communities. Across the state, we've broken up some of the largest, most dangerous drug rings in the history of this office and the history of New York State. Earlier this month, we announced the dismantling of 2 interrelated drug rings that were transporting heroin from Massachusetts and the Bronx to Western New York and funneling cocaine upstate from Manhattan, Pennsylvania, the Dominican Republic, and Puerto Rico. We will continue to use every law enforcement tool that is available to us to lock up drug dealers and dismantle their networks. We will not allow them to sell this poison on our streets, and we need to focus in on this as not just a matter of drug abuse, but as a matter of public safety. There are very few people involved in the drug trade who are not prone to violence. This is something that has collateral consequences beyond the fact that this keeps a lot of people abusing and using drugs. And a few words in Spanish. Esta era una operación de narcotráfico sofisticada. Enviaban drogas peligrosas y problemas a nuestras calles. Las drogas arruinan a nuestras comunidades. Tenemos cero tolerancia con el narcotráfico. And with that, I will take a few questions.
Do one or two folks just introduce yourself before?
Yes, please
Isolda Peguero from Telemundo Network. I would like to know if you have put a value of the amount of drugs that they would sell, and also why Operation Snowfall. It might be, common sense question, but I just want to know why Snowfall the name, and how much money in total were they operating or trafficking in drugs?
We don't have a total, because what we captured was what was there when we got there. We know that this is a multi-million-dollar operation. The reason it's called Snowfall is because snow refers to cocaine, fall refers to Wappingers Falls, because this was a major operation for a community that size. This was a very significant drug ring, distributing drugs to that whole area. It's up in Dutchess County. It's a small community.
And I have a follow-up question. Do we know where in the Dominican Republic they were sending the money, or it was various locations that laundering the money, or in a specific place?
Well, we think it was various locations. We're actually still looking at the money transfers, because we're also pursuing issues related to where they got the supply of the drugs from, so I don't want to comment too much on that. But they also found some remisas when we busted them this morning.
Terry Sheridan, WOR. Were the folks up in Dutchess County, were they customers or were they full-fledged partners?
Dealers, co-conspirators. There was a fairly, as I said, this was a significant drug dealing operation for a community that size. Mr. Novik and his colleagues were dealing significant quantities of drugs. As I said, they had runners coming 3 times a week, 2, 3, 4 times a week up there. So this was a drug dealing operation that got money, sold drugs, and would then buy new drugs and sell it. It was quite a high volume for a town like Wappingers Falls, and they took advantage of the 24-hour-a-day quick delivery cocaine mart that was operating in Washington Heights.
Anybody else?
Eileen Cornell, WCBS. And these were not your typical drug dealers either. You have a prominent family involved. Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
I mean, I don't, not specifically, because I don't know this family. I think it reflects the fact that drug use, particularly use of heroin and cocaine, is now crossing over all boundaries in our state. Years ago, people thought this was just an inner-city problem or a problem of poor people. It is now a problem of middle-class people in the suburbs, in the exurbs. It is a problem that transcends class and race and all boundaries, and that's one of the most disturbing aspects of the evolution of the drug problem in the United States.
And as for this pipeline, we've seen also with heroin, the Washington Heights area to all points northeast. So that now you see that this cocaine also is using this.
Well, actually, I did something with Police Commissioner Bratton yesterday, where one of the things we identified was the fact that northern Manhattan and the Bronx is a major jumping-off point for distribution of drugs. It's a transshipment point, and that's something that we're aware of. And we will go wherever the traffickers go. These guys are very clever. We've busted people throughout communities in the state, including in smaller towns. You really wouldn't think about it. And we've had huge drug takedowns in places like Newburgh and certainly in Rochester, suburbs in Rochester and Buffalo. This is a problem across the state. This is a problem in every community. People who think their kids are immune from this because they live in a nice middle-class suburb are not right. You got to watch this everywhere.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all.
Thank you.